With that, let's convene the members of our diplomatic community. Larry Haas, former White House official, senior fellow at the American Foreign Policy Council. Jeremy Kinsman, former Canadian ambassador to Russia and the UK. Gentlemen, welcome.
Nice to be here.
Marilla.
Larry, let me start with you. I'm going to quote what the president had to say about this. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, talking about the Crown Prince knowing or ordering the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. What does that mean? What does that translate to? That Donald Trump doesn't care if he knew or ordered it?
Look, this is a stunning rebuke to two things. First, our intelligence agencies, which have determined with a great amount of confidence that the Crown Prince was behind this killing. The president probably knows that. It's been written up in all the major newspapers at this point, and he's pretending otherwise. And that leads to the second rebuke, which is it's a stunning rebuke to traditional American values. The president made clear today by talking about oil prices, talking about arms deals with the Saudis, talking about a potential Middle East peace plan. He made clear that everything seems to be more important than whether this murder was actually carried out at the hands of the Crown Prince. So it's a rebuke to what we as Americans traditionally believe in: freedom, democracy, pluralism, human rights. And he's turning his back on all of that. And it's a stunning rebuke to the United States and what we stand for. And it's very, very troubling.
Jeremy, what precedent gets set here by the Crown Prince getting a pass?
Well, I feel sorry for Larry and for all fellow Americans of Larry. I agree with him. It's stunning, it's disappointing, it's saddening, and it's undermining confidence in not just American leadership, but what America's all about. It reminds me of Leonard Cohen's great song, Everybody Knows. Everybody knows the fight is fixed. That's how it goes. And everybody knows. And what everybody knows now is that you can murder people, you can kill journalists, you can do what you want. But so long as the United States is going to make some money out of you, well, it's okay. Everybody knows that's how it goes. I fear for the future with this kind of a precedent, Marilla. Now, this guy, MBS, is the functioning head of state, really, of Saudi Arabia. So he'll supposedly be going down to Buenos Aires in about 10 days for the G20 meeting. The G20 has enough problems as it is without having to deal with the presence of this pariah figure among the other heads of government and state, including Justin Trudeau and Emmanuel Macron and Mrs. Merkel. What are they going to do about it? Are they going to refuse to look at the guy in the eye or eat next to him? Oh, it's just awful.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Larry about that, because if the prince goes down to this G20 summit, I mean, what should they do? What can they do if he presents himself that way?
Look, clearly, the Crown Prince is isolated from most of the developed world, and so is Donald Trump. And so I think at this point that Trudeau and Macron and Merkel and the rest of the leaders that Jeremy mentions really ought to keep the Crown Prince treated as a pariah. That certainly will ruffle the feathers of the man in the Oval Office in Washington, but it doesn't really matter at this point because they have tried to cozy up to him and it's done no good. I do want to say one more thing about sort of the future of America and what it means. I really do believe, for those of us who like to be optimistic, that this is a temporary pause under Donald Trump in terms of upholding American values. If you look on Capitol Hill, there is great consternation about what the president did today. I think there's going to be action to halt the Saudi arms deal. The president will oppose that action, but I think Congress represents in a very strong way our traditional values, and Congress will outlast this president. So it's a terrible development today. I don't think it's the long-term path of the United States.
All right, I do want to get to another topic here, and that is the Asia-Pacific Summit. The APEC summit ended on the weekend, but ended without, again, a consensus, because this is becoming more typical of world leaders meeting, but failing to come together on a communique. What does that suggest to you, Jeremy?
Well, it suggests to me that it is sort of falling apart, Marella. You know, it's the first time in APEC's history, two things. It's the first time that they were not able to agree on a joint communique. Now, I don't know if it's the first time that the United States president hasn't shown up, but it's very rare. And he sent to represent the United States one of the most uncompelling people I've ever heard, the vice president, Pence. You know, if you need a sleep remedy, he's the guy. It's over the counter, and I can promise you it's non-addictive. But here's the thing. China dominated the conference. Xi Jinping was the star. By the way, Putin wasn't there either. All the countries of the region are looking toward China. It's very obvious success, its influence, and it's important for the United States to stay in the game with communications that are somewhat more alluring than the one that Pence gave. The United States put forward a resolution to this meeting, actually targeting with some vindictiveness the World Trade Organization. And so Xi Jinping of China was able to resist that on behalf of the world, defending the World Trade Organization. Canada just held 2.5, 3 weeks ago a meeting of countries, of democracies committed to international trade on how to reform the World Trade Organization. Why didn't the United States get to its allies, stop abusing its own trading partners, its allies, and get them behind their position against unfair trade practices by the Chinese? That would have been something. Instead, they put their foot in their mouths once again.
All right, Larry, what's your take on APEC and the fact there wasn't a joint communique, the fact that the relationship between China and the U.S. seems to be getting worse? We haven't talked about the trade war, but it's still hanging over them.
Sure. So I half agree with Jeremy. Certainly, I agree with him that it's a reflection of the breakdown, once again, of world order. You know, we see it on the political level, and now here with trade, we see it on the economic level. The United States clearly trying to rewrite traditional rules, attacking the WTO and all the rest. I do not believe, however, that the United States is not in the game. It's trying to rewrite the game. But in terms of Asia, you know, it's confronting the Chinese over, you know, China's attempt to expand its, you know, declared territory. It is, in a very confrontational way, sending its ships through disputed waters, making clear that we are going to confront China as it attempts to expand its sphere of influence, and we are going to build, you know, further military capacity out there. So, you know, I'm unhappy about the United States' attempt in a unilateral way to rewrite the rules that have served the world so well since World War II. But on the other hand, I do think it's a bit of an overstatement to say that somehow we're not in the game. We're not in the game in the way that Jeremy and I would favor, but I still think the United States is in a game, certainly in a military sense in Asia.
All right, gentlemen, Larry Haas, Jeremy Kinsman, I do have to leave it there for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.